Sportsnet. Presented by Honda. At the Checkered Flag event, the Wheel Victory Lap is the drive home.
Here in downtown Toronto, Mike Trout and the Los Angeles Angels have arrived in town for a 3-game set. Night games tonight, tomorrow, then a daytime game on Thursday before the Blue Jays hit the road. And here's a look at Mike Scioscia's lineup tonight. It will begin with Mike Trout, who did some real damage against the Blue Jays last year. Hit 400 with 4 extra base hits in 6 games against the Jays. And Shohei Otani, if you're seeing him for the first time, you won't see him as a pitcher in this series. You will see him as a DH. And Buck, he's been pretty remarkable, really, on both sides of the ball.
He sure has been, and it'll be interesting to watch him. Happ is making his 10th start of the season, coming off a terrific outing against the Mets last Wednesday. He had 10 strikeouts, no walks in 7 innings. Third time he's done that this season, when he's pitched 7 innings, not walked a batter, and struck out 9 or more. They need another start like that from Happ, and the key to his success, in my mind, the ability to locate the fastball inside, outside, up, and down. That's going to be the key to his success against this Angels lineup.
And leading it off for the Angels, Ian Kinsler in his first year with the Angels after a long career with Texas and then Detroit, one of the offseason pickups for the Angels. It wasn't just Shohei Otani. They got Ian Kinsler, they got Zach Cozart. The Angels in the offseason for sure look like they were in full go for it mode. They come in 26-21 on the season. Underway with a fastball in for a called strike. After Kinsler, Trout, and then Justin Upton. Kinsler began the year on a DL with a leg injury, and you can see he's gotten off to a slow start since he's come back. And 2 pitches in, kind of vintage Happ.
Yeah, exactly what he needs to do against this lineup. They're very good hitters here. So he throws a fastball down and away for strike 1, fastball up and in for strike 2.
Few throw their fastball as often as Happ, and a few throw it with as much precision as Happ.
Yeah, it's really changed his entire career. A couple of years ago, he decided he needed to speed up the tempo. He needed to be more aggressive, more confident, and not be so precise in his pitches. You can see he's had his problems with this Angels team in the past.
Kinsler wouldn't chase, and it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Kinsler is 11th among all second basemen all time in home runs. 35 years of age now, and a swing and a miss. Happ strikes him out.
Center fielder number 27, Mike Trout.
So now Mike Trout, and having another great year, really a remarkable career. 6 full seasons in the major leagues. He's won the MVP twice. He's finished second 3 times. And then last year, Buck, he finished 4th. And that's only because he missed 6 weeks with an injury.
Yep.
Otherwise, he'd have been higher than that. First pitch swinging and a high fly ball to center field, but it's playable for Kevin Pillar. 2 down.
Let's take a look at the rest of the defense behind Happ. Granderson, Pillar, and Hernandez in the outfield. Devon Travis is back from the minor leagues, and he got off to a slow start. He's swinging the bat much better, but his fielding has been consistent all season long. This is his 17th start at second with the Blue Jays. He's not committed an error yet, and it's good to see Devon back in that familiar spot at second base.
With Richard Urena being optioned down to Buffalo after the game on Sunday. Travis back tonight. Here's Justin Upton, hitting .250 with 11 home runs, 34 runs driven in on the season. And he's had some success in his career against Happ. 4 for 8 with a couple of homers against the big lefty. Upton had the option of opting out of his contract at the end of last season and becoming a free agent again, but he decided to renegotiate and stay with the Angels. And given the way, I mean, it's hard to, you know, none of these guys are having garage sales or anything like that, but the deal that he got with the Angels might have been a lot better than what he would have gotten on the open market. A lot of pretty good, decent hitters in their 30s didn't do as well on the open market as they thought they would. And you know, he's with a good team, beautiful climate, plays with some really good players. You can't blame him for sticking around.
Not at all. He's 30, and he's in the prime of his career. There's Otani getting loose in the dugout, and we're going to see him for the first time tonight. He serves as their DH, but Upton's a good player. They got a lot of good players on this team.
A little bit high, and Upton wouldn't chase.
That's what I love about Jay Happ. He just comes out throwing fastballs, and there's no reason to throw any other pitch. Why should you show your entire hand before you need to?
Liner to center field. Pilar back, has room, and it's a 3-up, 3-down inning for Jay Happ. The Blue Jays coming up against Garrett Richards when we come back. Swept all 4 games by Oakland from Thursday through Sunday. Here's a look at the lineup the Blue Jays will put on the field tonight, including their leadoff man Curtis Granderson, who in limited opportunities has extraordinary numbers against Garrett Richards. 4 for 6, and 3 of the 4 are home runs. And Justin Smoke hitting in the 3-hole. Terrific numbers against the Angels a season ago.
Garrett Richards will make the 10th start of the season. He was the opening day starter for the Angels this season. 4-2. Tough luck loser last time out against Houston, but he matched up against Justin Verlander, who was terrific. Richards in that start allowed just 2 runs, both unearned runs, over 7 innings, and struck out 4, but Verlander pitched a complete game shutout.
Verlander seems to have the fountain of youth in his backyard or something like that. He's as good as he's ever been right now.
Yes, he is. Yeah. He might be the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah. Garrett Richards ready to face Curtis Granderson. No score, bottom of the first. And what the Blue Jays will see tonight is some velocity. Despite a couple of years of arm trouble, Richards throws hard. Granderson knows it. You can see that on base percentage of .416 for Granderson. It's .429 when he's in the leadoff spot, even better. And I think through about 6-7 weeks, Buck, 7 weeks, I guess, the Blue Jays, I think they're very pleased with what they've gotten out of Curtis Granderson.
Yes, absolutely. He's in a little bit of a slump now, but the whole team is. But the way he has handled himself in the leadoff spot has been terrific. That's a pretty good fastball. The catcher can't even catch it.
Yeah, he's only caught 1 out of 3 so far. It's okay to hit 330. It's okay to hit 333. It's not okay to catch 333.
Not very good to catch 333. That's for sure.
And that's a Gold Glover back there, Martin Maldonado. All right, he's up to 500 now, and it's 3-1 on Granderson.
Richards threw a lot of sliders in his last outing. In fact, he threw more sliders than fastballs, but he's got a great fastball. He's in the top 10 in fastball velocity in the majors.
Has not faced the Blue Jays since 2015. Sharply hit ground ball, but with Kinsler playing way out there, he'll make the play on Granderson.
Well, you're going to see some of that throughout the course of this 3-game series. There are 7 Gold Gloves combined in this defense tonight, and that man at shortstop, Andrelton Simmons, he's got 3 Gold Gloves and a Platinum Glove. A terrific defender with a strong arm. Nobody in my mind is better at going out into shallow left field, making that catch over his shoulder than Andrelton Simmons, and he by far is the best relay man in the game.
If you're acknowledged as the best defensive shortstop in the game, you got to be awfully good, because there are so many talented shortstops in the game today. Here's Josh Donaldson hitting .214, 5 homers. First pitch swinging, and he drives it up the alley in right center field. And Donaldson into second base, standing up with a 1-out double.
Well, there's no mystery. The Blue Jays need some offense, scoring 3.4 runs over their last 16 games. Just haven't put together any offense. That's a great sign for Josh as he connects for his 8th double. Not wasting any time. He sees a fastball he likes and he drills it to the power alley in right center. Josh is getting the head out a little bit better. He's been in a bit of a prolonged slump himself, batting just .214 at the start of this game, but that's a great swing to start his night.
So Donaldson in scoring position with 1 down, and here's Justin Smoke getting .252, 6 home runs, just 2 for 19 in his career against Richards. But a good deal of that, Buck, would have come before Smoke came to Toronto. He came up with Texas, played in Seattle as well, so he's got a lot of American League West experience. That's back before Richards had all the arm trouble. He's had elbow trouble, biceps trouble. Richards missing most of each of the last 2 seasons. These two have not faced each other recently.
Now you can go back to 2014. He tore his patella tendon in his knee and missed the rest of the season.
Yep.
That was late in August.
There's a slower breaking ball in there for a strike. 1-1. The plan for years, had Richards been healthy, is this is the ace of the staff. This is the guy intended to be the ace of the staff. But as you mentioned, health has been a big problem for him. Now with the arrival of Shohei Otani, we'll see what the year holds. He's only made 7 starts in the majors, but Otani has been terrific on the mound. 1-1 and right in on his hands, and it's fouled off by Smoke.
Mike Scioscia would love to have a competition for #1.
Yes.
That's when you really know you've got something special. Otani, as you mentioned, will not pitch in his series, but he's been a terrific pitcher and a very good hitter early in his first season in the majors.
And we'll get into it more as Otani comes to the plate, but it is a tremendously unique situation. He's thriving on both sides of the ball, if you will. And the Angels have structured his routine so that it really mimics his routine from Japan. It was set by Richards. Donaldson out at second. And a chopper foul again. Otani basically starts once a week, which is the way it goes in Japan. You play 6 games a week and they have 6-man rotations. And the Angels have a 6-man rotation unless they have an off day and they don't need it. Then they have a 5-man rotation. But Otani basically is starting every Sunday so far this year.
Yeah, that's the way it's worked out. I think he had a little bit of a problem when he sprained his ankle and they had to move it just a couple of days. But just once a week, and then 4 times he's available to hit.
Again, the 1-2. Down and in. Good take by Smoke. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That's a hard slider. It's 89 miles an hour, and it's got a little bit of a deep break to it. And he uses it a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if he throws it here 2-2.
He did, and it bounces in and away from Maldonado. And on the wild pitch, Donaldson will come to third.
Maldonado's not seeing the ball very well for some reason. He has had a couple of balls clank off his glove. And it's tough to play for Mike Scioscia if you're a catcher. He demands a lot from his catchers, and Maldonado's just late getting down on this ball. By the time he got down on it, his body was turned to the angle, and that kicked far enough away for Donaldson to move up. But we've seen him drop a couple of balls early in this game, and now he's late blocking that ball and cost the Angels 90 feet.
And with it being so early, they're not going to bring the infield in or anything. So if Smoke can hit a ground ball to anybody, maybe with the possible exception of the third baseman, it's a run for the Blue Jays. Wow, very, very close, and it may be a break for the Blue Jays. That's ball 4.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pitch, and Smoke caught a break, and Scioscia is wondering where it was. Up. It wasn't off the plate. It looked pretty good. And Scioscia, he calls all the running game defense. Take a look at this last pitch. Man, if I'm catching, I want that pitch called a strike. And Smoke probably went, whew, thank you very much.
Well, here's where the Blue Jays have to take advantage. There's been a wild pitch. There's been a borderline call that's gone their way. Here's Teoscar Hernandez hitting .256, 7 homers. 20 of his 34 hits have gone for extra bases. Hernandez has never faced Garrett Richards. Slider for a strike. Simmons, Kinsler up the middle having a conversation about their responsibilities. The third baseman Zach Cozart, who's a natural shortstop. That's what he was with Cincinnati. But of course with Simmons there, he agreed to move over to third. And he's swapping stories with Josh Donaldson right now. Into shallow center field, going to get down for a base hit. Hernandez with an RBI single, Smoke to second, and the Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead.
Jays don't waste any time cashing in on that wild pitch. Hernandez picks up the RBI. It's 19th of the season. And how many times do we talk about it? As a hitter, it's so much easier hitting with a runner at third base than it is with a runner at second base. That's a slider out on the outside corner, and Teoscar does a good job of staying on the ball and driving it into center. Mike Trout throughout his career has played very deep in center field, and that ball bounces in front of him, and Donaldson comes in to score.
RBI number 19 on the season for Hernandez, an early lead for the Jays. And here's the number 5 hitter, Kevin Pillar, hitting .294. And a first pitch slider in for a called strike. Pillar's had a little bit of experience against Richards, 2 for 6, but again this goes back 3 years in Pillar's case. Donaldson with a well hit line drive double to right center field, taking third on the wild pitch and scoring on the base hit by Hernandez. 0-2. And you're right, Buck, just like you said about his last start, he has been heavy on the slider so far.
Yeah, last time out where that start against Houston, he threw 42.9% fastballs. That's the lowest fastball percentage of his career as a starter.
For a guy who throws 96.
Exactly. I mean, you scratch your head, but he was good. The only runs he gave up over 7 innings were 2 unearned runs, but it was in a losing effort. He just got outpitched by Justin Verlander.
That Houston rotation absolutely unbelievable so far this year. And a hot shot down to third. Cozart's got it. Throw to second is not in time. Smoke dives back in. 2 down.
Anderson Simmons, the shortstop, came running toward the middle of the diamond, pointing to the dugout. He had a very good look at the play at second, and he immediately reacted as if he thought that they had doubled off Smoke at second. So now he's anxiously watching, and Cozart, a former shortstop, makes a nice play. Just kind of leans into this line drive and then goes to second. And Kinsler did a nice job of taking the ball with a stretch, but the Angels are taking a long time to look at this. Mike Sosa's still waiting on a decision, and they're going to wave it off. Let the play stand without a video review.
So 2 down, a runner still at first and second for the Blue Jays, and that'll bring up Russell Martin. Martin had some good numbers against the Angels a year ago. 9 for 20 in the 2017 season, hitting 152, 5 home runs so far this year. And was one of a number of Blue Jays out at taking early batting practice today, like at about 3 o'clock, better than 4 hours ago. Donaldson was out there, Pillar was out there, Dwight Smith was out there, Luke Maile was out there. A bunch of them were out taking some early BP.
Yeah, the Blue Jays didn't hit on Sunday before that day game either, so you have Sunday and then Monday's off day, so everybody want to get back into the swing of things, and lately they've not been swinging it very well.
And Richards jumps out in front 0-2. A couple of fastballs in for strikes. Smoke out at second. Hernandez after the RBI single. He's still at first. 1-0 Jays. And as Brooke Jacoby looks on, his team is still near the top of the league in runs scored, although it feels like they've been struggling for a while. Harder breaking ball there. 91 miles an hour down and away.
Yeah, Brooks been working with all the hitters trying to get them back on track, and everybody's gone through a little bit of a tailspin lately. We mentioned over the last 16 games the team has averaged 3.4 runs a game. That's off from their early pace when they were over 5.
Martin lines a ball right center field, and it's off the glove of Chris Young, and 2 runs will come in to score. Smoke and Hernandez are in, and it's 3-0 Blue Jays.
Russell Martin continues to swing the bat pretty well of late. Doesn't have a whole lot to show for it, and this is going to be an error on Chris Young in right field. Young's making just his 6th start in right field. That ball went off the tip of his glove, and it's over his head. Looked like a routine play, but you can see he didn't really get to it. His path to the ball was pretty shallow, and we were singing the praises of this team defensively, and they have not played good in this first inning. Blocked ball by the catcher. Maldonado allowed Donaldson to move to third, and then that ball should have been caught in right. 2 runs come in to score.
On the 2-base error charged to Young. Martin out at second with 2 down, and now here's Kendrys Morales, who kind of pitched his way into Blue Jay lore on Sunday, mopping up in that defeat against Oakland. And there's a curveball at 80 miles an hour in for a strike. Kind of lost in the shuffles that Morales had a couple of hits on Sunday, and maybe, just maybe, it's the beginning of him starting to come out of it.
Well, you hope so, and maybe his former team will bring out the best in him. I mean, this is where he got his big league start, and this is where he performed the best while he was playing with the Angels. They continue to give him a steady diet of breaking balls. We mentioned last time out Garrett Richards. He gave up 2 unearned runs, and already the defense has cost him 2 more here.
Yep. Normally the Angels are a pretty sure-handed team. As Richards will step off. Got a mound visit from his pitching coach Charles Nagy after the last batter. Martin hit it hard, glancing off the glove of Young. 2-run score on the play. And not the start Mike Scioscia was looking for here in Toronto. Inside. Now think of how different things might have been had ball 4 been called strike 3 on Justin Smoke.
Yeah, it looked like a very close pitch, a slider that looked like it was on the inside corner. Smoke took it for ball 4, and then Hernandez had a base hit, and then after Pilar lined out to third, Russell Martin hit looked like was the final out of the inning, but it goes off the right fielder's glove.
Morales cranks one to right field for a 2-run homer. And the Blue Jays are up 5-0 early.
That's the first home run for Morales since the 1st of May in Minnesota. It went off Ryan Presley. Actually hit 2 that day, one off Gibson and one off Presley. The last 2 home runs he's hit before he smoked that ball into the second deck in right.
I'll tell you, when he gets them, he leaves little doubt about it. His 4th of the season, 5-0 here in the first inning.
Well, Kendrys, you mentioned he had 2 hits on Sunday, and maybe that is the start of something good. He's been very patient. He's been working very hard. His teammates are rooting for him to get it turned around, and that's a great sign.
And it gives Yangervis Solarte a chance to break out his dancing shoes.
There's been a long drought of home runs for these home run hitters.
Gio Urshela sends one down the line of foul territory. Young is there to make the catch. Young's error, though, a huge play in this inning. Scored 2 and then gave Morales a chance to come up and add 2 more.
Rogers Center. It's on the other side where one of the big stories in baseball in 2018 exists, the phenom that is Shohei Otani, except Mike Scioscia will stop you right there. He said, look, he's a human being, a real good person, and a good baseball player. He's not a phenomenon. But it is something, isn't it? As Buck and Dan were telling you, he pitches, takes a day off, then hits a few days, and the night before he pitches, he takes that game off too. So there's a lot on his plate, and Scioscia was marveling at the focus of the young player. And for the Angels players, what's been cool lately is his personality is now slowly coming out. Otani becoming more comfortable with his teammates. He's loose, he's making people laugh, and on Sunday, he goes to Yankee Stadium, and he may very well face Masahiro Tanaka at Yankee Stadium. How about that, guys?
That sounds like a game we're going to want to watch if we have the opportunity. Here's Albert Pujols leading off the second. Somebody's got to get there. Smoke will feed Happ just in time to get Pujols for out number one, and that'll bring up Shohei Otani, who as Arash mentioned, Mike Scioscia doesn't want to think of him as a phenom, but it is incredibly unusual. It's unprecedented, at least in the last 99 years in Major League Baseball, to do what he is doing. He is 4-1 with a 3.35 ERA as a pitcher. And Buck, you've done this as much as I have. When you talk to players who have faced him, their eyes get big when you talk to them about a pitcher. This is top shelf stuff that he's got as a pitcher. As a hitter, people wondered a little bit more because in the spring he did not look good at all with the bat, and all he's done so far is hit .321 with a slugging percentage of .619 and an OPS of .986, which, if he had enough plate appearances to qualify, would be 5th in the American League.
And he's 23 years old. He has made a tremendous adjustment since spring training, and he ironed out a few things at the plate. He had a very dramatic leg kick all throughout the spring. He has since ditched that. You can see he just has a toe tap and kind of turns his front foot in back, and that's a former Blue Jay now, Eric Kinske, who was a Rookie of the Year here in 2002. He's the hitting coach for the Angels, his first season with the Angels as the hitting coach. But I asked him about Otani. He said he hits the ball as far as anybody he's ever seen during batting practice, and they've seen that carry into the games. He's never had a home run on the road. All 6 of his home runs have been hit at home.
Lays off that slider down and away to run the count full. Otani's a big guy, 6'4", about 205 pounds. One of the other things that people talk about when they talk about him is how fast he is. Down the line, scoring from second on a base hit. He can really fly. And he takes up and in for ball 4. And there, you got to believe there's a temptation to use him even more than they're using him because he's doing so well. But it sounds like the Angels are going to stick to the plan, at least for now.
Well, you and I talked with Mike Scioscia before the start of this game, and he was in his office. He said, you know what, we're going to stay with it. We think he will be available 4 days a week to hit. And he will pitch probably on Sunday most weeks. And then we'll give him a day off, and he'll be able to give us that DH role 4 times a week.
Here's the shortstop, Andrelton Simmons. First pitch swinging, ground ball down to third, to second one, and Travis with a nice play coming across the bag at second and then completing the double play.
Well, Donaldson made a strong throw, but it was to the first base side of second. Kind of pulls Travis toward first before he really gets a chance, but it looked like he caught the ball while he was on top of the bag. And now the Angels are going to concede the double play. Donaldson starts a nice double play for J. Happ.
maintains Travis will be a big part of this team. And when the Blue Jays sent Travis down April 29th, they wanted their second baseman to find a swing again. In Buffalo, Travis did, hitting safely in 12 of 14 games. But Devon admitted it was very, very hard and wasn't sure what to think when it happened. He said, I probably had every thought possible go through my head when the demotion went down. Then Travis made a decision. He said to himself, take this adversity, turn it into a positive. He told himself, believe, man, believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing. He says his time in the minors to him, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, and now the Blue Jays are rethinking his usage, guys, not totally committed to 2 games on and 1 day off.
Meaning he might play more often than that. Of course, the production dictates the playing time. And here is Travis's first at bat back in the big leagues as he leads off the second, a 5-0 lead for the Blue Jays.
I think it's a real chicken and egg situation where, you know, you want to have production, but you're not going to have production with inconsistent at bats. I think they've got to take the leash off a little bit with Devon and say, you know what, he's healthy. We're almost at the end of May, and it's time to say, okay, go get him. And you play every day, and that'll free up his mind as well. Not thinking that I've got to get 2 hits if I want to play tomorrow. That's a tough way to play.
Yep. Hit .210 at Buffalo. As Arash mentioned, he had hits in 12 of 14 games, but a lot of 1-for-4s, a few 1-for-5s. He went 13 for 62 in Buffalo, but he seemed most pleased just about how his body responded to playing regularly. As he fights one off to the right side, 1-2.
I think that's the biggest thing for him, because each of his first 3 seasons with the Blue Jays, he just didn't have enough regular at bats because of injuries. Basically missed halves of seasons at a time.
Bert Jacoby anxiously looking on with Travis's return to the big leagues. Richard Arena was sent down Sunday. This is the corresponding move the Blue Jays made today. And a swing and a miss at a sharp slider down and away for out number 1. The Pitch Tracker is brought to you by Coors Light, official beer of Major League Baseball. With Buck Martinez, Arash Madani, I'm Dan Schulman. Second inning here at Rogers Center. And the Blue Jays have a 5-0 lead. 4 of the 5 runs in the first inning were unearned. A Chris Young error with 2 outs allowed 2 runs to score. And then the next batter, Kendrys Morales, followed it up with a 2-run homer. Here's Curtis Granderson who grounded out. You know, back to the Travis thing, with Travis coming up and Arena being gone, for the first time all season, I believe, the Blue Jays don't have a real backup shortstop. They don't have 2 infielders whose primary position or who are very comfortable playing shortstop. So it sounds like for now that guy is the backup shortstop, at least until Aledmus Diaz gets healthy, and then the roster will get shuffled again.
The Blue Jays don't have a frontline shortstop. Urshela's a third baseman.
Yep. Granderson got jammed just a bit. It'll hang up for Trout. So Urshela, as a teenager, a lot of shortstop, but as a pro and in the major leagues, as you say, almost all third base, because Francisco Lindor, of course, is the shortstop in Cleveland. That's where Urshela was. So.
Urshela's a very good third baseman,
Yes.
man. So far, he's played well in limited action at short for the Blue Jays. It's just his 5th start. Russell Martin, I wouldn't go there just yet. He can play third base, and he's done well there. But I don't think they want to go that deep in their depth chart.
You know, in a pinch, of course, you could also see Josh Donaldson if they had to slide him over to short. That's been done a couple of times. Donaldson got it started in the bottom of the first with a double to right center. Diaz is progressing. And when he comes back, I would imagine, barring the unforeseen, he reclaims the bulk of the playing time at shortstop. 7 different Blue Jays have played shortstop so far this year.
Yeah, and that wasn't the plan for sure, and it goes all the way back to Troy Tulowitzki. They were hopeful that he would be able to start the season at shortstop. But then even Diaz, he was questionable coming out of spring. They weren't really sure how well he was going to play, and I think he played a lot better than anybody anticipated. And then unfortunately he sprained his ankle.
Richards looking for a 3-up, 3-down inning here in the second after he gave up 5, but again only 1 of them earned back in the first. 1 ball, 2 strikes as Donaldson asked for time. And a curveball to get him and end it. 3 up, 3 down to go the Jays. End of 2 at Rogers Center. 5-0 Blue Jays.
More comes to town. 1 o'clock start for both days. As always, pregame outside, gates 5 and 10. There are inflatables, activities, and a lot of fun. And after the game, kids can run the bases. BlueJays.com for tickets for Junior Jays weekend. We thought we'd be seeing Jose Bautista later in June, but he is now with the New York Mets. Signed for the Major League minimum and is in the lineup today, guys.
And all that means, Arash, is we might see him in July. The Mets are here the 3rd and 4th of July. Yes, Bautista is in the lineup and batting 5th for the New York Mets tonight. There's a potential play for Smoke, and he will make the catch as Cozart is retired. The Mets right now have Yoenis Cespedes and Juan Lagares on the DL. They always seem to have a couple of outfielders on the DL. They're looking for some depth, so who knows if this is just a short-term thing for Bautista, or again a chance to prove himself and maybe try to get a longer stay with the Mets.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is Lagares might be out for the season as he injured himself against the Blue Jays on Wednesday in New York. So Bautista quickly signed, and they didn't waste any time putting him in the lineup.
Here's Martin Maldonado, the catcher, hitting .248, but it's been a tale of 2 parts to the season so far for Maldonado. Hit .156 in March and April, and he's hitting .390 in May. 16 for 41. A little bit low, and it's 2-0. As we mentioned, the reigning Gold Glove Award winner in the American League, and as you said, if you play catcher for that guy, it's a demanding job, because that guy was a heck of a defensive catcher back in his day.
Yeah, he sure was, and he has high standards for his catchers. We talked to him a lot about that in the past, and he said, you know, I asked Mike several times, what's the most important thing for your catcher to do for you? He said, catch the 1-1 pitch. And when you think about it, that's a big swing pitch. You make it a good pitch, it's 1-2, the pitcher's ahead. If you don't, it's 2-1. Now it's a hitter's count, and things can really unravel. But Mike is very demanding. He has him work very hard, really insists upon blocking and throwing. He's had some good ones in the past, of course. He had both Molinas, and he's done a terrific job with all of his catchers. Jeff Mathis, of course, is the guy that really developed under him and became a terrific defensive catcher.
Mike Scioscia's been there a long time, became the Angels manager in 2000. This is his 19th year as the manager of the Angels. Of course, they won the World Series back in 2002. They've been to the postseason a number of times since. But he's the dean of major league managers right now in terms of tenure with one team.
Everybody expected him to be the Dodgers manager. In fact, he was the AAA manager for the Dodgers in 1999 and resigned on September 20th because they were going to go in another direction. So he changed spots and ended up with the Angels.
Happ rings up Maldonado for his second strikeout of the night. And this has been a pattern. We have seen J. Happ's strikeout numbers really explode this season.
At his best number of his career for strikeouts per 9 innings. You can see the pictures on this staff are impressive. Garrett Cole leads the pack, then Chris Sale, J. Happ, James Paxton, and Charlie Morton. And you strike out more than a batter per inning, you're doing a good job. And Happ, as we mentioned, that's the best ratio for his career.
Now, strikeout numbers, of course, are up all around baseball. Everybody knows that. The game has changed. But Garrett Cole's got 93 strikeouts in 61 2/3. And Max Scherzer, granted he pitches in the National League. Do you know Max Scherzer's over 100 strikeouts already? He's got 104 strikeouts in 10 starts, encompassing 65 2/3 innings. Good changeup.
And I love Max Scherzer's attitude. He said, they pay me a lot of money. I'm supposed to be good. And he takes a lot of pride in being the best at his craft. And boy, when you look at the pitching categories, Max Scherzer is all over the leaderboard.
Right back to the change, but Young lays off, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. No surprise, Martin wants a fastball in. And a base hit between third and short. First hit of the night for the Angels off Happ.
Well, they called the sinker ball inside, and Jay left it out over the plate. That allowed Chris Young to get to it and rip it past Donaldson. The location, see, it's out over the plate. Russell wanted it down and in, so Happ missed all the way across the plate to the outside. That's the only reason that Young was able to pull it. You throw that ball inside, he swings over the top of it, and they get a strikeout.
So the inning continues, and back to the top of the order for Ian Kinsler, who struck out his first time up. Has a couple of home runs in his career off Happ in 20 at-bats.
Kinsler's a terrific player and has been for a long time. He's now 35 years old. Dan mentioned he played 8 years in Texas, 4 years with the Tigers, and this is his first season with the Angels. But he's just one of those guys that's a quiet performer. He won a Gold Glove in 2016 with the Tigers. He's a 4-time All-Star. He came up with the Rangers and played alongside a pretty good player in Michael Young.
He's going to wind up with over 2,000 hits in his career, probably over 1,000 RBIs, over 1,200, 1,300 probably runs scored. Five to nothing, the Blue Jays lead here as the Angels bat in the top of the third, opening game of a 3-game set. And a foul back 2-2.
Kinsler's always used a very short stride, and he barely picks up that front foot, just kind of a weight shift, much along the lines of what the great Paul Molitor did. Just kind of pushes his weight back and trusts his hands that he's able to get it to the ball. Very quiet at the plate. Plus all that very reduced movement allows him to really see the ball much better.
To left center field. There is Granderson, and that's all for the Angels. They leave the 2-out single aboard. J. Happ of the Blue Jays still lead 5-0.
stories from the game, available wherever you get your podcast. You can check out new episodes of Swinging a Belt with Dan Schulman every Thursday through the baseball season. Dan, while we have you, I enjoyed the Beeston conversation last week. Who's on tap this week?
Beeston was something else, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was great. This week, Buck, probably two young men that you've spoken with. I know one of them you have. Tristan Pompey and Noah Naylor, two Canadian boys, two Toronto GTA young men who are possibly, and if not likely, going to be first-round picks in the draft in a couple of weeks, and really enjoy the chance to speak to both Tristan Pompey, younger brother of Dalton, and Noah Naylor, younger brother of Josh, who is at AA and doing really well right now in the Padres organization. Here's Justin Smoke. We had a chance to see Noah Naylor down in Dunedin earlier this year.
He's a good-looking player. He can play in the infield. He can play catcher, much like Russell Martin. Very athletic behind the plate. And Tristan Pompey finishing up a great career at the University of Kentucky.
It's funny how that if you've got an older brother who's an athletic kid, a competitive kid, the next brother, the next younger brother has a he better inherit those kinds of attributes, and being the middle brother or the younger brother can often probably doesn't feel so good at the beginning when your older brothers are wearing you out, but as you get older it pays big dividends.
Well, Blue Jays have an example of that in AA with Bo Bichette. His older brother Dante Bichette's in the system with the Yankees, and their father Dante Bichette Sr. suggested that he's had a hands-off approach on Bo Bichette as far as his hitting style. So that's going to be interesting to see how that develops.
After Smoke, it'll be Teoscar Hernandez and Kevin Pillar with the Blue Jays up 5-0 here in the bottom of the third. Smoke walked and scored on the Chris Young error that really hurt the cause of Garrett Richards back in the first inning. 4 unearned runs. And a liner down the right field line, but he hooked it just foul. And a kid in a Trout shirt's going to wind up with a souvenir.
The Angels don't shift as dramatically as we have seen teams shift with Justin Smoke. In fact, look where Chris Young is out in right field. He's basically in the right field power alley, not expecting Smoke to be able to pull anything from Garrett Richards. And it almost just burned him.
Curveball stays a little high. It's a full count. Richards is a little bit frustrated. You can see he just said something on his way back up on the mound. A little bit frustrated with some of the calls that have not gone his way tonight.
Cost him in the first inning when he walked Justin Smoke on a very close pitch.
There you go, kiddo.
That's awesome.
3-2. And that's a base hit. Smoke finds some room in right center field. Let's get an update now from Jamie Campbell. Well, interesting. It didn't take him long to land on his feet again. As Jose Bautista is now a New York Met and off to a good start, it sounds like. Thank you, Jamie. And again, the Mets are here. Now, don't know how this will go for Bautista, but the Mets are here for 2 games the first week of July. Here's Teoscar Hernandez, who had an RBI single back in the first.
Teoscar to slider into center field to drive home Josh Donaldson. That was the first run of that 5-run first inning. He's really done a pretty good job of adjusting to the breaking ball. That was a pitch that really gave him a lot of trouble last year. And he's become very patient, and he's staying on the pitches much more frequently.
Do you think the Blue Jays have seen enough of Hernandez last September, spring training, 6-7 weeks now, to have decided what they think he is as a baseball player?
No. I think he still needs to improve in the field. He's committed 4 errors. I think he needs to develop more consistency. He's still just batting .261, but I think he's certainly got room to grow. But he's made some mental lapses in the field, but I think the potential is there, and he's a hard worker. He wants to get better. There's no question about that. But I don't think you can sum up what he has done to this point. Here we are, just the 22nd of May, and say, okay, there's our right fielder for the future.
Speaking of right fielders, Randall Grichuk beginning a rehab assignment tonight, so it sounds like he certainly figures to be back before Steve Pearce, barring any setbacks. There's a pretty good take, and that's something that you've said on a number of occasions. When Hernandez is in a good groove, one of the reasons why is he's laying off the borderline pitches.
Yeah, they made some minor adjustments with him in the spring and kind of got him back to neutral. Instead of hitting out of a closed stance, he's hitting out of a square stance at the suggestion of Brooke Jacoby. Well, what that does is you can see how his face is really looking right at the pitcher, so he's got both eyes on the pitcher and he can see the ball much better.
3-1. And reaching for it, he lifts a pop-up really into very shallow right field, and backpedaling is Kinsler to make the catch, 1 down.
The Honda Checkered Flag event is back. Hurry in to grab the Civic that matches your game.
Dan Shulman to Buck Martinez and Arash Madani with you here at the Rogers Center. The Blue Jays up 5-0 in the bottom of the 3rd. Runner at first, 1 down for Kevin Pillar. The Grichuk numbers, by the way, from his rehab game tonight: 0 for 2, a couple of strikeouts, and he walked twice. Pillar lined out to third his first time up. And Richards really trying to make a living with that slider on the outside corner right now to all of these right-handed batters for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, the problem you have with that, you can throw 15, 16 good ones, and boy, you hang one, and that one's going to go a long way. And I used to fight this battle all the time with Dave Stieb, who had a terrific slider. He wanted to throw just about every pitch. And, you know, the hitters sooner or later, they're going to sit on it and look for just one mistake.
That is a fair ball. Down to second, 1, and on to first. That's a double play. Kevin Pillar still near the plate. The call was made by the third base umpire, Ben May. It's his call as soon as the ball gets by the bag. His call was a little late, but it was emphatic that it was a fair ball. And Pillar, I guess, judged the ball on his own and decided it was foul. And that winds up ending the inning. young players, this is not an aberration. This kind of thing happens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely it does. When you see Mike Trout at the ballpark, first of all, he's going to work to get ready for the game. But secondly, he's going to accommodate the fans, especially the kids. He's been terrific with kids from the day he got to the big leagues. And you know what? There's a bunch of these guys around, and I think every player needs to take note of what Mike Trout does on a regular basis. I mean, this guy, as you mentioned, he's a MVP. He's a all-star. I mean, his demands of him are incredible, but he continues to take time to make sure he doesn't forget where he came from.
Now, he went over to kids wearing Angels shirts, but on the road, that's his prerogative, of course. All right, let me ask you a question. Who's the best player you've ever seen? Is it Willie Mays?
The best player?
The best player you've ever seen.
The best player I've ever seen is Willie Mays.
Does Mike Trout have a chance to wind up being considered as good as and having the kind of career that Willie Mays had?
I think so. I think so. And you know, defensively, I don't think Willie had any peers in center. Willie didn't steal bases because it wasn't important. But if it was important, Willie would have stole 60 bases a year. He was that gifted. He could throw. Mike Trout can throw. I think Willie threw better than Mike Trout. But the power numbers are very similar. And the one thing that's difficult to compare is that Willie Mays played in an era when pitchers knocked you down. And I just, you can't make light of that. That's such a big deal. And every time I saw Willie Mays play against the Dodgers, Don Drysdale knocked him down. Every time. Not just once in a while. Every time he would knock him down. He wouldn't hit him, but he knocked him down and made him uncomfortable. But Mike Trout, by far, in my mind, the best player in the game today.
In 6 full years in the big leagues, he's led the league in on-base percentage twice, slugging twice, OPS twice, walks twice, runs scored 4 times, RBIs once. There's a swing and a line drive at a right field, a base hit for Justin Upton, and Trout will easily come around to third on the play, and the Angels with something brewing here in the 4th.
Well, the Angels picked up on a pattern that Jay Happ has established at first pitch fastball, and Justin Upton stayed on the outside pitch and drives it into right field. He's just going to run that ball down and away, and Upton goes out over the plate and strokes it into right. A pretty swing from Justin Upton, and Mike Trout. He's got great speed. Once it's on the ground, he knows he can breeze over to third base. So runners at the corners and nobody out here in the 4th.
With the Blue Jays up 5-0. And the batter is Albert Pujols, who grounded out on the first pitch that he saw from Jay Happ back in the 2nd. Albert with a huge milestone earlier this year as he became just the 4th player to have both 600 homers and 3,000 hits. He already had the 600. He got the 3,000th hit earlier this year. Joining, let's see, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Alex Rodriguez, I believe, the other 3.
That's the elite class for sure. I asked Albert today what was the most meaningful phone call he got to congratulate him for 3,000 hits, and he thought for a minute. He said, the calls I received from Walt Jocketty and Tony La Russa. Jocketty was the GM with the Cardinals when he was brought to the majors, and Tony La Russa was his manager. He said they believed in me when not a whole lot of people did. They brought him to the big leagues. They put him right in the lineup, and they left him there for 10 years.
And he was the best player in the game for most of those 10 years.
He was a terrific player. Remember, they started out playing him in left field. They tried him at third base a little bit. But a tremendous hitter. And he continues to hit.
Off the end of the bat, shallow left center field. Who's going to get there? Nobody. It'll drop in for an RBI single. Trout in to score. Up to second goes Upton, and the Angels are on the board. It's now 5-1.
Well, Pujols has such good power. You have to respect his power. He hit that ball off the end of the bat and popped it up into no man's land. You can see it's right off the end of the bat. It's a pop-up. Now, Happ expects it to be caught. But you can see how deep Granderson is. Pilar was shaded over in the right center alley, and Urshela doesn't have a chance to get there. So it drops, and Pujols picks up another hit and an RBI.
And here's Shohei Otani, who walked his first time up. The American League Rookie of the Month for the month of April. Got jammed, hits a ground ball down to third, to second one, and that's all they've got. I don't think Donaldson got a tag on Upton. He did not. Upton comes to third, so it'll wind up as a fielder's choice.
So now the Blue Jays kind of looking around at each other to see Donaldson made a swipe at Upton, but Upton got past him. And then they got the force at second. That's all they could muster. Otani gets jammed and hits a slow roller to third base. Donaldson swipes at the base runner, but you can see Upton didn't have to go that far out of the base path to get around Donaldson. He was nearly past him, and there wasn't much of an attempt by Donaldson, and that umpire at second base made the call on that tag attempt. That was Jim Reynolds at second.
So first and third, one out on the fielder's choice, and here's Andrelton Simmons. Grounded into a double play his first time up. It's a high chopper toward third. Only play for Donaldson is to first. They'll get Simmons, but a run will score. And Otani to second. It's 5-2.
Yeah, they haven't really hit the ball hard in this inning. Upton hit the only truly line drive base hit, but Simmons chops one off home plate. Donaldson has but one play, and that's across the diamond to first. So he throws out Simmons on the play. Dustin Upton comes home. He read it well. Once it went off the plate, he broke for home. And the Blue Jays have recorded the out, but now the Angels have scored 2 runs here, and they haven't really worn out Jay Happ.
2 down, and here's Zach Cozart. Popped up his first time up. Cozart, a very good player for Cincinnati for a number of years, and as we mentioned the first time he was up, he was their shortstop. But when he agreed to terms with the Angels, signed a 3-year, $38 million deal, it was with the understanding that he would play third base. He was an all-star as a shortstop last year with the Reds.
It's a pretty easy decision, I would think. You want to play shortstop for the Reds, you want to come to the Angels and move positions. He said, yeah, I'll move to be on a good team.
And actually had to play some second at the beginning of the year when Kinsler was on the DL.
Made 14 starts at second base.
The 0-2 up and away. Blue Jays got 5 in the bottom of the first. The Angels have come back with 2 here in the top of the fourth. They'll meet again tomorrow night and then Thursday afternoon before the Blue Jays head out on a 9-game road trip to Philadelphia, little interleague play, Boston, and then Detroit. One-two upstairs.
You see Otani at second base. Another thing that people might not really know about him is how well he runs. He's one of the fastest players on the Angels team. And he can really run. He's put pressure on the defense on some infield hits, but you got to keep your eye on him. If there's a base hit, hopefully he doesn't get a great jump because he can fly. There was some thoughts that he might play some outfield, but Mike Scioscia kind of downplayed that earlier today. He said, we're going to keep it the way it is. He'll DH when he's not pitching, and he'll only do that 4 times a week. But managers have changed their mind in the past.
That's right. It's a long season. Coming in. Fly ball to left. Granderson back. And there. The Angels get a couple. We go bottom 4. Blue Jays up 5-2.
Catch every moment this season. Blue Jays home screen icons and features such as MLB TV Game of the Day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, live radio broadcast stats, news, and more are all available if you download MLB At Bat today. You will not be seeing D. Gordon, who has been placed on the 10-day DL by the Mariners. He has a fractured toe. Dan, you may remember he missed some time earlier this month with a bruised toe, so it appears it's gotten worse for the Mariners second baseman.
All right, Arash, thank you. And of course, with Robinson Cano suspended out 80 games, a couple of tough blows for the Mariners, who, like the Angels, if you consider the Blue Jays a potential wild card team and you're looking around for other competitors, look west. Oakland, Seattle, Angels. Here's Russell Martin leading off the fourth. Of course, coming into the Oakland series, the Blue Jays were one game better than the A's, but after the sweep, now the A's are 3 games ahead of the Blue Jays. The good news for the Blue Jays, I guess, is the Angels have lost 5 of their last 6. They won on Sunday to snap a 5-game losing streak. And you don't want to concede anything, but looking at the way the Yankees and the Red Sox are playing right now, the Yankees are 31-13 and Boston is 32-15. The Yankees just did something that they've never done in franchise history. Did 2 things, actually, I think. 4 home runs in 3 consecutive games and 8 extra base hits in 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, when you think about their history and all the great players they have had over their long storied history, it's pretty remarkable. It's the first time that's ever happened. And they are in Texas tonight, just getting started against the Rangers.
Gleyber Torres has really proven to be something else so far for the Yankees.
Hitting .321 at the start of play tonight, and Miguel Andujar, he's holding his own as well. The third baseman's batting .286.
They've got Greg Bird coming back soon. He hasn't even played yet.
He should be back by the end of the week, I think.
Martin will draw a leadoff walk. Let's get another update from Jamie. You know, we said, Buck, a couple of times earlier, each of us said Mike Trout's the best player in the game. But if the season ended right now, Mookie Betts is the MVP of the American League.
Yeah, he sure is. He's gotten off to a great start to his season, and he's been knocking on the door a couple of years now. But he does everything just like Trout. Steals bases, plays great defense, hits home runs, hits for a high average. Mookie Betts is hitting .367. The home run is 16th. He has 35 RBIs. And he's doing it all as a leadoff guy.
Playing great defense, stealing bases as well. And when Trout won the MVP 2 years ago, Betts was the runner-up. Here's Kendrys Morales, who lined a 2-run shot into the seats in right field. His first time up, his 4th home run of the season. And he hits the ball sharply and off the glove of Kinsler into right field for a base hit. And Martin's going to make the turn and come to third.
Boy, is that a good sign for the Blue Jays. Morales hit that long home run his first time up, and he hits this ball with authority. Just off the glove of the second baseman, Ian Kinsler. That ball is down and in with a little movement, but he stays on it. Head was right there with it and pulls it past Kinsler, who gets a piece of it and slows it down. That allows Martin to go first to third. But Morales is 2 for 2.
And a great opportunity for the Blue Jays to get something back here after the Angels just scored twice in the top half of the inning. First and third, nobody out for Gio Urshela, who hit a fly ball that was caught in foul territory down the right field line by Chris Young. That ended the first. A good block there by Maldonado, scrambling to keep it in front of him.
All throughout the course of the Oakland A's 4-game series, we were talking about catchers, how they should be credited with blocks. It should be a stat that you keep track of, because that one right there saves a run for sure. You know, there are so many stats in the game. Why not give catchers credit for balls in the dirt that they block? Saves you 90 feet. That one saved a run.
That's a sensational idea.
It's not my idea. It's Ray Fosse's idea.
Another catcher.
Yep.
Did he go? Yes, he did. 1-1.
But we measure catchers on catchers' ERA, on their ability to throw out runners, which is only half their responsibility because you got to rely on the pitcher. But blocks are truly sole responsibility of the catcher.
Because some catchers probably have to block twice as many pitches in the dirt just because of the nature of the pitching staff they catch. Right?
Gary Sanchez in New York. Tanaka throws a lot of balls in the dirt. Chapman throws it all over. CeCe bounces a lot of balls. But I think it'd be a great stat.
Down the right field line, and this one will get out of play. 1-2. You know, when you talk to a Ray Fosse or a Mike Scioscia or a Buck Martinez about how the game has changed, it's changed a lot for catchers.
It really
since
has.
You guys were there. You and Scioscia were talking about that before the game.
Yeah, blocking the plate, those types of things, and even the double play ball. Mike was very, very adamant about that, how the slide rule at second base has really taken some of the key plays away from the game, where good teams could manufacture runs by breaking up a double play.
Big opportunity here for the Blue Jays, first and third with nobody out. Ground ball down to third, and they've got Martin hung up. How long can he stay in a rundown? It'll go as a fielder's choice, and the end result is first and second.
Nice play by Cozart. Yeah, he probably could have turned two. The ball was hit to his glove side, but he got to it quickly and looked up, and Martin was halfway headed for home. So he came up throwing to the plate. They got Martin in a rundown, and then they execute the rundown very well. This is surely a double play ball, but he sees Martin so far off third. Now he throws to Maldonado, who runs Martin back to Simmons, who's fast enough to put the tag, and then he looks back to second to make sure Morales stays put. Heads up play by Cozart at third.
And we'll get our second mound visit of the night for the Angels, and our first sign of bullpen activity as both Noe Ramirez and Ian Kroll, a righty and a lefty, are up here in the fourth inning.
Pretty interesting. Richards has thrown just 66 pitches, but they just scored 2 runs. And Scioscia, I'm sure, wants to put up another 0 right here in the bottom of the fourth. So he went out, he sent Nagy out there, the pitching coach, to say, go out there and make sure he gets the ball down. We got to get a ground ball here and get out of this inning cleanly.
Well, so the Blue Jays lose their lead runner at third, and also now with Morales being the lead runner out at second, obviously no guarantee he scores on a base hit here. Devon Travis struck out in his first at bat tonight. If you weren't with us earlier, Devon Travis recalled today after spending about 3 weeks at Buffalo. In as good a mood as he is normally in, even maybe in a better mood to be back in the big leagues.
Yeah, you know what? You spend some time in the majors, the last place you want to be is AAA, and I don't care what you do down there, you want to get back.
Oh, and 2.
The one thing that we have seen lately with the Blue Jays during this tough stretch of losses, the Jays have lost 12 of the last 16, is they haven't been able to take advantage of good starts to innings. They get leadoff walk this inning, get a base hit, and then they can't capitalize on that. They don't move the runners along. They don't string together at bats.
And that is strike 3 called. Devon Travis isn't buying it, but that's out number 2.
Well, Devon Travis takes a look at that slider. He gets caught looking at strike 3. It's another good breaking ball. The slow-mo, super slow-mo, is brought to you by the Samsung S9 and S9 Plus. The camera reimagined, available now. Big strikeout for Garrett Richards. Mike Tamir, the home plate umpire, calls Travis out. Devon thought it was off the plate away.
So now it's up to Curtis Granderson with 2 men on and 2 outs. Granderson is grounded out and flied out tonight. Takes a slider for a strike.
When Blue Jays need a big 2-out hit now, as we mentioned, they get a leadoff walk and a single, and you think, okay, now they're going to bust it open and get those runs back. But Cozart made a good play at third to get Martin in a rundown, and then Travis strikes out.
Throw down to second, and just back in ahead of it is Morales.
We mentioned Andrelton Simmons, a former Platinum Glove winner, as the best player in the American League when he won that Platinum Glove. And watch how he sneaks in behind the runner. This is a design play with Morales drifting off with 2 outs, anxious to get a big lead in case there's a base hit. Maldonado's got a strong arm and throws a strike, but Morales is back in time.
Richard saying have a look at it, and it looks like the Angels are. You could see Andrelton Simmons after the play was kind of moving his hand back and forth like maybe, I'm not so sure. Richards right away said I think I got him, and the Angels have seen enough from their video room that they want to have a look.
Maldonado won the Gold Glove last year. So far he's really not thrown well in catching base stealers. He just 1 for 8 in the season, but he's got a strong arm. And Simmons was positioned perfectly to put on the pickoff play. With Granderson hitting, he's positioned directly behind the bag. And that's going to have to be a quick tag. I don't know if that's enough to overturn that call on the field. Looked like he got back in ahead of the tag.
Looks like he's back in safely.
This is where the umpire has to do a good job of keep moving. Yeah, he's safe. His foot came in straight. He did a good job using that straight leg slide to get his foot back on the base as quickly as possible. But you look around when you're a good defensive ball club like the Angels and say, how can we get out of this inning? Cozart made a good play earlier in the inning, and there Simmons put on the pickoff play on Morales at second.
And he is safe. So the Angels lose their challenge. And the inning continues with 2 on 2 out and a 1-1 count on Granderson. Trying to take advantage of what initially looked like a promising inning for the Blue Jays. Breaking ball fouled back, 1-2.
When the Blue Jays were winning games early in the season, the bottom of the order was coming up with pivotal at bats, whether they moved the runners along or they got base hits to score runs. But now lately it's been a little bit of a stagnant lineup. They haven't been able to get back-to-back hits to cash in on these early base runners.
Morales at second, Urshela at first, 2 down. And the 1-2 bounced in and blocked again by Maldonado.
Shall we give him credit for that?
How many pitches, say 110 pitch start, and you'll catch some relievers? Say there are 150 pitches in a game. How many do you think in an average game a catcher has to block in the dirt?
I would say 15 to 18. You think that's about right?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Couple an inning.
Yeah. And I would say we only give them credit for a block with runners on, obviously. Even though the ball might be in the dirt, he blocks it. Right. But if it doesn't have an impact on base runners, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's like tracking blown saves and not giving a reliever credit for saves. The catchers get charged for pass balls, and obviously the pitchers pay the price for wild pitches on balls in the dirt, but nobody. You make a great point. Nobody tracks the balls they block. Fly ball to left field for Upton. And the Blue Jays will leave a couple of men on. They're up 5-2 at the end of 4. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Jamie Campbell and Joe Siddall in the Samsung broadcast studio. 15. They're behind the Yankees, but they're in possession of the first wild card spot. There are the Mariners, Angels in the top 2 spots. Oakland, by virtue of their sweep of the Blue Jays, they've moved up quite a bit. And don't look now, but the Blue Jays have fallen behind Tampa Bay. Long way to go, of course. Not even 1/3 of the way through the season.
Yeah, I would keep my eye on Minnesota as well. I think they're going to get Irvin Santana back before too long. And they just cut ties with Phil Hughes and swallowed a big portion of his contract, over $22 million that he's owed. But I think they're going to be in it before it's all said and done.
Martin Maldonado, the catcher, number 8 hitter for the Angels, leads off the top of the 5th. Jay Happ at 58 pitches right now, as the slider misses down and in, a ball and a strike. Happ gave up a couple of runs in the 4th. He's allowed 3 hits. He's walked 1 and he's walked 2 and struck out 2. Coming off a great performance against the Mets his last time out. And Jay will get a chance to swing the bat again. He'll be the starter in the final game in Philadelphia on Sunday.
Now, his original team, he signed with the Phillies and came to the big leagues with the Phillies, and I'm sure he'd like to have the same type of game with the bat he had last time. A couple of hits, he walked, scored 2 runs, and a good outing.
Maldonado's asking Mike DeMuro about the strike zone. Russell Martin's chiming in that catcher fraternity.
That's a good pitch.
You know what, the conversation Maldonado might have just had with DeMuro might have bought him a call. Who knows? It happens, right?
Yeah, it does. Everybody's getting involved in this conversation. Yeah. Hey, look at you want that pitch. I'll throw it to you next time as long as they call it a ball.
See if they go right back in. Got it. Well executed there by Martin and Happ. And Maldonado still with words for DeMuro, even though he got a call 1 pitch after he didn't get a call.
Yeah, and that's the last thing Mike DeMuro, Lou was his late father, but the last thing DeMuro, the umpire, could say, hey, I didn't miss that last pitch. You did. You swung at it and missed it. And then the response from the catcher would be, yeah, but you really put me in a hole.
Still not happy about it.
Well, he'll have plenty of time to talk to him in the next half inning.
Mike DeMuro might suggest that maybe he tune up the listening skills a little bit and tune down the talking skills a little bit. Some umps let you go further than others, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Like as Chris Young committed a key error in the bottom of the 1st that led to 4 of the 5 Blue Jay runs being unearned, and then had a base hit in his only at bat in the 3rd inning. Was with Boston last year. The Angels, his 6th major league team, can play all 3 outfield spots. Basically, at this point of his career, he's a bench guy, 4th outfielder, platoon guy. Here comes Pilar, and he'll get there. 2 down.
Jay has a habit of tossing aside any ball that's been hit. Comes back no matter what it is. Base hit, fly ball, he gets it back, and there's something about it. He doesn't like the feel of that baseball. Probably figures if they hit it once, they might hit it twice.
2 down, and here's Kinsler, who has struck out and flied out. How often do you see when Happ is on the mound and in a groove, the catcher, whether it's Martin or Maile, put the glove there and not have to move it to catch the pitch?
Yeah, the last couple of years he's been terrific at that, and he would tell you that early in his career he tried to be too fine.
His stuff's playing, though. 3 up, 3 down. Go the Angels in the top of the 5th.
Anaheim, spending a good chunk of his Hall of Fame career playing for the Angels. And guess who was around Southern California quite a bit during it? His son Vlad Jr., of course. Mike Scioscia chuckled today, remembering a chunky child running around the field in the clubhouse all those years ago. But Scioscia said, you saw the swing then all those years ago. You saw the natural ability then. You saw how Junior moved around and threw, and Scioscia said the kid had that. The Angels manager now marvels at what Vlad Jr. has become, calling him a premium talent, and believes the kid ripping up AA New Hampshire guys will have, quote, a great career.
I think a lot of people in the Blue Jays organization agree 100%. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 1 for 3 tonight for New Hampshire, lowering his average to .419.
Yeah, he dropped a couple of points tonight. He'll have to little early BP tomorrow, Vladdy. That's it. Let's go. No slacking off down there. Come on.
Josh Donaldson will lead off the fifth for the Blue Jays. He got things started for the Jays back in the first after the Granderson groundout. He doubled to right center, setting the stage for what eventually turned into a 5-run first for the Jays. They're up 5-2 now.
Richards still has that good fastball, that last pitch, 96. But when he reaches back for 96, 97, he loses his command. I think he's best and most effective 94, 95, just trying to make quality pitches and stay in his delivery.
Big swing and a miss on the slider, 1-1.
Donaldson's had some good swings tonight, and that was another. That ball stayed inside. I think he expected it to break away. He was looking for a breaking ball.
Blue Jays looking to get off on the right foot in this series against the Angels after suffering the sweep at the hands of the A's. Don't forget, Thursday is a day game here at Rogers Center. And that fastball with a little cutting action, it looked like, at 96, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, you know what? Garrett can make some good movements with his fastball and his breaking ball. I think he's throwing one breaking ball tonight. I think it's a slider, but he has the ability to give it a different shape. It's 89, 90 miles an hour, the breaking ball, and then that last fastball was 96 with a little cutting action on it.
Got a pitch up, and it's fouled back.
He ticked it up at 97.
For the Angels, the last couple of years, their rotation has really at times been devastated by injuries, and that's been a big problem for them. But if they can stay healthy, especially with the addition of Otani, they can be a dangerous team. This guy's a real key. Sent foul just past Tim Leeper.
Yeah, when you would think about 16 with Richards, he pitched 6 games for the Angels, and then he had that elbow injury on May 1st in Texas. He missed the final 137 games. He did not have surgery. He chose to take a different approach. He didn't have the Tommy John surgery. He received stem cell injections, and he's made it back.
Little high. Right now the Angels have Tyler Skaggs, who's made 9 starts, and the Blue Jays will see him tomorrow night. He's got a 2.88 ERA. Andrew Heaney's got a 3.35 ERA. Blue Jays will not see him in this series, but if they get decent starting pitching, they're going to be a dangerous team. They're kind of a closer by committee team, though, which is very unusual, obviously, in this day and age. Donaldson, right center field again. And in there for his second extra base hit of the night.
Well, Josh had it in his mind he was going to get a breaking ball during that at bat. You saw him swing and a miss at a breaking ball that stayed inside earlier in this at bat. And his second double of the night. Watch where the breaking ball is. This one is out over the plate, and he stays on it. That's in the same direction his double was in the first inning. He hit that one on a fastball. This is a slider. He slams up against the wall in deep right center. When Josh gets it going, it's tough to cool him off. And we need him to get going, just like we need Morales to get going. And Kendricks has 4 hits in his last 2 games.
And here's Smoke, who has walked and scored and had a base hit. And Maldonado with virtually no chance on that breaking ball, and Donaldson to third on the wild pitch.
It looked like Maldonado was asking the umpire if that ball hit him. Maldonado, watch how he goes after this ball, and the ball is inside. It took a funny hop past Maldonado. It didn't appear to hit Smoke, and he certainly didn't react as if it did. It hits in front of home plate. Maldonado did the best he could, but he didn't have much of a chance. And you see Noe Ramirez for a second time throwing in their bullpen.
And the Angels bring the infield in here in the 5th with the runner at third and nobody out. And again, an opportunity for the Blue Jays to extend the lead. And a great opportunity last inning, couldn't do it. First and third, nobody out, didn't score. Now runner at third, nobody out. And Richards may be nearing the end here. Two-0 slider for a strike.
Interesting infield alignment. You talked about it, Dan. They're playing halfway, and the shortstop Andrelton Simmons is even deeper than halfway. But the reason he can play that depth is he's got such a strong arm. If it should be hitting his direction on a one-hopper, he might still be able to make a play to the plate because of his arm strength.
Three and one now on Smoke. Teoscar Hernandez waiting on deck. In a lot of situations you'd say, well, you can key in on a fastball here. He's fallen behind, but I don't know if you can do that with Richards.
No, he has certainly not shown that he's going to stick to a fastball in fastball counts.
It is a fastball and it's chopped foul. Terrific numbers for Smoke, as you can see, with runners in scoring position. 382. He's got 26 RBIs on the year. And there's the slider, a swing and a miss for out number one. Let's get an update with Jamie. Well, somebody trying to cool off the Yankees, who have been so hot and scoring a ton of runs. Here the Blue Jays up 5-2, and again, can they take advantage? Can they get this runner in from third? Teoscar Hernandez has had an RBI single, and he's also popped up. Fly ball to center field. Trout racing in. Donaldson setting up to tag. And he'll come a few steps, put the brakes on, and then hustle back to third. Not deep enough to score him.
Hernandez went after the first pitch, and we mentioned Trout plays deep, but he's got such great speed. He was able to close ground and got his body under control before he made the catch, and then everything was going toward home plate. You can see how shallow he is. Josh knows he's not going to have a chance to score on that shallow pop-up, but Hernandez went after the first pitch in a key RBI situation and hits a pop-up into shallow center.
Blue Jays are now 0 for 5 in the last couple of innings with runners in scoring position, 2 for 10 on the night. So now with 2 down, it's up to Kevin Pillar. He's lined out and grounded into a double play. Slider for a strike. Richards probably has, well, he's definitely pitched a whole lot better than some of the numbers would indicate. 4 of the 5 runs are unearned, so he's only getting charged with 1 earned run, but he had a couple of tough calls go against him early. But he's made some big pitches here in the middle innings to keep this game close.
Well, there's another good one. You see the difference in that breaking ball, just a different shape. It's 91 miles an hour. It's more like a cut fastball, but we've seen his cut fastball up to 96. He's thrown a slider a lot, and we've seen that slider in different shapes. He can shorten it up and he can make it big and deeper.
Down to third. And that's the inning. The Blue Jays waste another opportunity, leave a man on at third, and the lead still just 5-2 now at the end of 5. But since 2012, his first full year, as you can see, he's right at or near the top in virtually every significant offensive category.
He's unbelievable in his ability to get on base, and he's improved that a lot this year because he's not chasing as many pitches as he has in the past. He's slugging. That's first since he came to the big leagues. Home runs, he's hit 210. His OPS, 991. That's the first since he came to the big leagues, and he just keeps getting better and better. Takes a lot of pride in the fact that he wants to cut down his strikeouts. He did that last year, and he has continued to improve upon that into this season.
Look at that on base percentage. That's the best in the major leagues. Leads the American League in walks taken. He drew his 42nd walk of the season earlier tonight.
And he has 40 strikeouts. That's the key. I think when you have a great player and he walks more than he strikes out, obviously, the more times he gets on base, the more chances he has to score runs. He's led the American League in runs scored 4 seasons already, and this is just his 8th season, his 7th full season.
I asked him before the game, how do you continue to push yourself when you've had all the success that you've had? And he just says he's tremendously competitive, and he loves coming to the ballpark. You can see this is a guy who loves playing the game. It's never a chore or anything like that. And he said his main focus coming into this year was improving defensively, improving his routes, his jumps, that sort of thing.
I guess when you're as good a player as Mike Trout, you have to think of different ways to challenge yourself each and every year.
Swing and a miss, and Happ strikes him out for the first out here in the top of the 6th.
Well, and Jay's done a terrific job of moving that fastball around. We mentioned it in his last start against the Mets, how he had great command of his fastball. In, out, up, and down. This is a 4-seam fastball. You can see Trout is late on it. Mike Trout is a terrific low ball hitter. So if you're going to go by the book, you're going to try to get him out upstairs, and that's exactly what Happ did in that strikeout.
Justin Upton's flied out and had a base hit. He'll check the swing of the fastball up above the zone. Happ pretty efficient in his pitch count tonight. That's number 74. And again, if you can go 7 in this day and age, you're doing something.
Yeah, and you know what? He did a great job his last time out, going 7 innings. The most pitches he threw in an inning that last start was 19, his final inning. And he retired the side in order. A couple of strikeouts in his final outing. And he's just really gotten back into that good route again now, where he's pounding the strike zone with his fastball and then using his complementary pitches when needed.
Two and two. Throws the fastball 72% of the time. Through another one. Travis. 2 down.
Save big at the outdoor living event at Home Hardware, on from May 16th to June 5th. Here's how.
Here at Rogers Center, the Blue Jays lead the Angels 5-2 in the 6th inning. Dan Shulman to Buck Martinez and Arash Madani in the opener of a 3-game set. Here's Albert Pujols, who has grounded out and had an RBI single, a bloop single that dropped into left center field. For Pujols, career RBI number 1940. He is 9th all time in RBIs, and fairly soon should pass Ty Cobb and Stan Musial. Some pretty heady company. Hernandez makes the play, and the Angels go in order. Happ's back in a groove. In the first inning, allowed 5 runs, but only 1 of them earned. But he leaves trailing 5-2. There's his line, 92 pitches. He is now done for the night, as Mike Scioscia has gone to the bullpen for right-hander Noé Ramirez.
Ramirez is now 28 years old, originally drafted by the Red Sox out of Cal State Fullerton. The Angels claimed him on waivers last August 17th, and he's a guy that will throw fastballs and sliders to right-handers, and he'll throw fastballs and changeups to lefties. And the first batter he will face will be Russell Martin, who's reached base twice so far tonight.
Once on an air, he's also walked. Martin will be followed by Kendrys Morales, who's had a very good night, and Gio Urshela.
Ramirez will throw more sliders than fastballs to right-handed hitters. They'll throw almost 50% sliders to the righties. You mentioned sliders and Sergio Romo, how he started both games for Tampa Bay Saturday and Sunday against the Angels.
He was the opener, they're calling him, the reliever who starts the game. Well, if any team's going to do it, it's probably a team like the Rays, which has a kind of a 3.5-man rotation and bullpen days sometimes. The fourth starter, Ryan Yarbrough, not really an established guy, and they did it against the Angels. They started Romo against the Angels back-to-back day to get a righty. You talk about sliders. Get a right-handed reliever in there against right-handed batters to throw a bunch of sliders in the first inning. As Martin flares one down the right field line, but this will drop in the seats. And the thinking was, if Romo can get, I think it was Cozart, Trout, Upton, I think we're 1, 2, 3. If he can get them, then they bring Yarbrough in. Yarbrough doesn't have to face those guys 3 times. He can start a little bit lower in the order and maybe face 24 batters, get part of the order 3 times without having to face the big boys for a 3rd time. And it's something that's rarely been done, obviously, but it's kind of a perfect storm. Tampa Bay will do it. They've got issues in their rotation. The Angels have all righties at the top of their order. And Yarbrough, not an established guy. You can go to a Yarbrough and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. You can't go to a Verlander and say, oh, by the way, you're coming in the 2nd inning. Like, Houston's not going to do this kind of thing.
No. And, you know, Mike Sosa, we asked him about that. He said he didn't agree with it 100% at all. He says, you know what, then you're not rewarding Houston for doing such a great job of building their great rotation. And he said, you're just kind of saying, okay, well, whatever you guys want to do, we don't care. But, you know, Tampa Bay lost a couple of starters in spring training. Youngster Brett Honeywell and then Evaldi still coming back from arm issues, so they had 2 of their regular starters down.
Martin strikes out. Drive of the game brought to you by the new 2018 Civic Si. When it leads off, it leads for good.
Kendrys Morales had not homered since May 1st when he stepped to the plate with 2 aboard in the 1st inning against Garrett Richards. He gets a high pitch out over the plate and he drills this over the fence in right field. Home run number 4 on the season. That capped off a 5-run 1st inning for the Blue Jays. And Morales, that was his first hit of 2 so far tonight. He's 2 for 2.
And when you include his numbers from Sunday, he's now 4 for his last 6. If you go back to Saturday, he's 5 for his last 8. He had a double in his next to last at bat on Saturday. So some positive signs for Morales.
And that's all you're looking for right now, because he is so far under 200. You just say, okay, well, a couple hits here, a couple of good at bats there. Let him string things together. And you know what? If he continues to get hits, all of a sudden he gets to 200, and you start thinking about 250. He had some of his greatest years with the Angels, and I think that's what everybody is hopeful of, that he can get back to that level. Of course, he had that terrible injury when he hit a walk-off grand slam, jumped on home plate, and broke his leg, and that cost him basically 2 seasons.
You know, it's funny, for a couple of years after that, you hardly saw anybody do that. Everybody just gently stepped on home plate. Swing and a miss and a ball up above the zone, 2 down. But as that kind of fades into the background, especially younger players now who may not be familiar with it, everybody's doing these huge jumps on a home plate again.
Vladdy Guerrero did it on his walk-off home run. Yeah, I just cringe every time I see somebody doing that to celebrate. You just don't know when you're going to come down on somebody's foot. Break your leg, break your ankle.
2 down, and here's Gio Urshela, who was 0 for 2 on the night. Again, with Urena sent down, Travis recalled. Urshela, for now at least, is the primary shortstop, it looks like, for the Blue Jays. John Gibbons saying before the game that Yangervis Solarte would be the backup if they need one. We've talked about Aledmus Diaz getting closer, could be back in a week or so. So kind of this revolving door at arguably the most important defensive position on the field. Well, second to catcher, I should say. Yes, but
thank you.
A tremendously important defensive position.
But it sure is. I mean, when you have a contact staff like the Blue Jays have, you need guys that can catch it in the middle of the diamond. Solarte was signed basically to revolve around the infield, just Little time at third, little time at short, little time at second. But because of the injuries and the poor performance, he's been called upon to play a lot.
Ramirez potentially a pitch away from striking out the side here in relief. Guy capable of going multiple innings has gone as far as 3 innings and 49 pitches in an appearance this year.
He's not overpowering, but he's got that great slider that just seems to break forever away from the right-handed hitters.
And he got him. Ramirez strikes out the side. End of 6 with the Blue Jays leading 5-2, and Shohei Otani will lead it off for the Angels when we come back. A century, and that's be a significant player as a pitcher and a position player at the same time, and so far so good. 4-1 with a 3.35 ERA, a whip barely over 1, an OPS close to 1,000 as a 3 or 4 day a week DH. Sits against the odd lefty, didn't sit tonight against Happ, and figures to be the DH for the Angels each of the next 2 games as well. Tonight he has walked and grounded and bounced into a fielder's choice against Happ. In Japan in his 5 years there, does that look like a call that goes Otani's way? In 5 years there, a 5-time All-Star, was an MVP once of the Pacific Coast League in Japan.
He actually wanted to come to the major leagues out of high school in 2012 when he graduated, but the Japanese team drafted him. The Nippon Ham Fighters from Hokkaido drafted him and signed him, and he wasn't an unrestricted free agent. He needed to play 2 more years in Japan before he could have that status. But he went to a very well established baseball high school, and he was basically recruited there, and he wanted to go there because it had such a great reputation for developing baseball players.
2-2 on the way. Sent foul.
His father, Toru, had a older son that he never got to see play much and didn't have time to give him those extended opportunities because he was working in an auto factory. So when Otani became high school eligible, he made sure that he gave him the best opportunities possible. But he was the talk of Japan. I was there in 2017 for the WBC, and he was injured at the time. He had a sprained ankle, so he wasn't playing for Team Japan, but everybody was raving about some of the things he had done already in his young career.
Here's the 3-2 on the way. Swing and a miss at a high fastball. Strikeout number 5 for Jay Happ.
Again, Happ's fastball has been terrific, and it's not one that'll be in the upper 90s, but it's got great movement. It explodes, and that's how Luke Maile described his fastball in his last start against the Mets. It explodes past hitters. They see it, and you can see where the ball was when he made his swing. It was past Otani. So that is what hitters will call a sneaky fastball. You don't think it's as hard as it is. You think you've got a good read on it, and it just beats you time and time again.
And Happ into the 7th inning here at 87 pitches. And gets a call on the outside corner as Hyun-Hwan Oh is now up in the bullpen for the Blue Jays. All going well. Happ gets through the 7th. Certainly has the pitch count to do it if he remains effective, and he's in a terrific groove right now.
Well, when pitchers get in a groove, so do the catchers and the umpires as well. When you're around the strike zone so consistently, catchers have a lot of confidence just to throw down the next sign. And the umpires, because they're calling so many strikes, anticipate it being a strike. It's a good way to pitch.
And there's an example right there, and Martin did a pretty good job bringing it back over the outside corner. It's 2-2.
Yeah, just let that ball come to you when you're catching, and Russell did a great job of that last pitch.
That is a foul ball.
Very subtle sign from Russell Martin after he gave that last pitch to Jay Happ. He gave it a little extra fist pump as if to say, hey, give it to me now. Give me your best fastball. And Simmons was able to get to it, but it was foul. But Russell will do that from time to time, just emphasizing a previous sign, saying, okay, this is the pitch I want. Now this is how I want it. That's a sinking fastball sign. It didn't sink.
3 times on the season, Jay Happ has gone 7 innings. We mentioned the start last time against the Mets. And also went 7 against both the Rangers and the Red Sox back in April.
In each of those 3 starts, he didn't walk a batter. And tonight, he has walked just 2.
On the season, Happ has walked 15 and struck out 71. And there's walk number 16. Jamie Campbell's got an update. So Adames with a home run for the Rays. Juan Soto called up, 19 years of age, by the Nationals. He hit a home run, I think, on the first pitch he saw, not only the first at bat that he had. Happ's going to collect himself a little bit here after walking Simmons and now throwing ball 1 to Cozart. O continues to throw in the bullpen. Change up down and away, and it's 2-0.
Simmons can run a little bit at first base. He's 5 for 7 in steal attempts. The Blue Jays have not thrown particularly well, especially Russell. He's had his problems. He's caught just 4 of 22, and that's a big lead. Anytime you get past 12 feet, but you can see it was a one-way lead as Simmons was breaking back and shuffling toward first. Looks like he's trying to draw a throw from Happ just to see what kind of move he's working with.
All of a sudden, after Happ had set down 10 in a row, he walks Simmons, and now he's 3-0 on Cozart. And John Gibbons, Pete Walker might have a decision to make momentarily.
Yeah, these are the tough decisions when you're getting near a starter's final few pitches.
Ground ball to third. The second one to first, double play. Well, that makes the decision-making process a little bit easier. Around the horn go the Blue Jays as Cozart grounds into the double play, and Happ of the Blue Jays still lead by 3.
Hosting 14 Honda Super Camps across the country. You can learn technique and skill from former Blue Jays, including Roberto Alomar, Lloyd Mosby, Jesse Barfield, and Dwayne Ward. Register now at bluejays.com/camps.
Thank you, Arash. A lot of young fans in the ballpark tonight enjoying this Blue Jay lead over the Los Angeles Angels. It's 5-2. The Jays got all 5 of their runs in the first and have squandered a couple of opportunities in the middle innings to extend the lead. The Angels got their 2 in the fourth. Jays coming up now, bottom 7. And here's Devon Travis, who has struck out in each of his first 2 at-bats in his return to the big leagues. After Travis, Curtis Granderson, and then Josh Donaldson.
Well, there's that good slider, and then starts on the plate, breaks off the plate. Ramirez struck out the side in the 6th, and you can see Ryan Tepera loosening up for the 8th.
And is Happ done? He's at 99 pitches, or he's still in the dugout. Might have gotten some handshakes. We'll see if Tepera is going to be the guy who comes out. Marco Estrada right now in Biagini's galaxy there in the third base dugout. A broken bat roller to short, and Travis retired 1 down.
Super Slow-Mo Cam. Brought to you by Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. The camera we imagine. Available now.
Marco Estrada's been better his last couple of times out. He's anxious to get back out there and have another start. Tonight he's being entertained by Joe Biagini, it looks like. Who writes your stuff, Joe? Of course, Joe has experience on late night television.
Yes, that's true.
Wow.
Curtis Granderson's 0 for 3. 0 for 4. Hits it sharply, but down to Pujols at first. Another aspect of Shohei Otani being with the Angels Albert's played more first base than he has in a number of years because Otani's DHing when he's in the lineup.
Yeah, Albert got himself in real good shape, anticipating that there was going to be the possibility he'd have to play some more first base, and I think he likes it. You know, he's a national leaguer. Came up with the Cardinals and spent 10 years in St. Louis playing in the field, and I think he likes being out there. Last few years, he's had trouble with his feet, had plantar fasciitis, and just couldn't handle it, but now he's in great shape and looks like he's having a little fun out there.
A good night for Josh Donaldson. He is 2 for 3 with a couple of doubles, both of them going to right center field.
He's going to have to do the same thing against Ramirez because he's going to get sliders. And you got to stay on it and take it the other way.
And a change up there. Down and out of the zone, a ball and a strike.
When in doubts, when you're facing Ramirez as a right-handed hitter, you can look for a slider. He's got a great one.
To left field, but Upton is there, and the Blue Jays are gone in order again. We are at the end of 7 here in Toronto, with the Jays leading the Angels 5-2. Jay Happ, he goes 7 innings for the second start in a row and allows just 2 runs on only 3 hits. And really, we were talking during the break, only 1 of the 3 was really a hard hit ball.
Yeah, man, he was good once again. Another 7-inning outing for Jay, just 2 earned runs, and he walked 3, struck out 5. Very, very economical outing for Jay Happ, and now he'll turn things over to the bullpen. And the first one out is Ryan Tepera, who worked to the bottom of the order. Tepera making his 24th appearance of the season. He last pitched on Friday, had an inning in that outing, gave up a double, a walk, but did not allow a run to score. That was against the A's in that 3-1 loss on Friday night.
So a full 3 days rest now for Tepera as he faces Martin Maldonado and starts him with a swing and a miss, 0-1. Maldonado, Cole Calhoun out in the on-deck circle for Chris Young, and then leadoff hitter Ian Kinsler. Maldonado a couple of strikeouts tonight. Just down and away. 5 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Blue Jays. 2 runs, 3 hits, 1 error, and it was a big one for the Angels. If you weren't with us in the first inning, Chris Young had a ball off the bat of Russell Martin, glance off his glove, went for a 2-base error that scored 2 runs, and then Kendrys Morales homered after that. This ball is trouble down the left field line. It's going to be off the wall on a bounce, and Maldonado is into second base with a leadoff double.
Well, we mentioned Maldonado got off to a terrible start to his season, but boy, he's turned things around in the month of May. And Maldonado gets a big double here, a leadoff double in the 8th inning. He just pulls it, and it one-hops the fence in left field. Maldonado hit 156 in April and then turned things on in the month of May. He had an 0 for 34 stretch at one point early in the season, but now he has turned things around. The bullpen over the last 6 games had to pitch a lot, and because of that, things have kind of caught up for them. They've been so good throughout the course of the season, but they've had a little bit of a rough patch here lately.
And here's Cole Calhoun to come off the bench at bat for Chris Young. And a first pitch swing and a bouncer to first. Big hop for Smoke, who corrals it and makes the play himself. Maldonado comes to third, 1 down.
The 2018 Civic Type R, like no Honda you've ever seen.
Eighth inning here in Toronto, with the Blue Jays leading the Angels 5-2. The Angels have a man at third with 1 out for Ian Kinsler. And the Blue Jays will play the infield back. They will concede the run to get the out. They want to stay out of the big inning here. Kinsler 0 for 3 on a strikeout and a couple of fly balls. And a strike over the inside corner, 0-1.
Kinsler facing Tepera for the first time, wanted to get a look at his fastball, and he was confident he could take a pitch.
Fly ball to right, playable for Hernandez, who makes the catch easily deep enough to score. Maldonado on the sac fly, 2 down, and it's 5-3.
Boy, the veterans make it look so easy sometimes, don't they? Kinsler had an idea that, okay, I'm going to look at one pitch and then I'm going to look for something away I can drive at least deep enough to score the runner from third. But you talk about a professional at bat. That's about as good as it gets. Yeah, sure, he wanted the double, but in that situation, you got to get that guy in at least from third base.
So the Angels creep a little bit closer, but there are 2 outs now in the 8th inning, and here's Trout, 0 for 2 with a walk.
Again, trying to get Trout upstairs. Remember, the book on Trout is he's a terrific low ball hitter. Watch how they attack him in this at bat. High strike.
Cam Bedrosian is now up in the bullpen for the Angels. His dad, a pretty good pitcher back in his day.
He sure was, and he really had some great years. Philadelphia, Atlanta.
Almost hit him.
You got to pitch him up, and that one got away from Tepera, pushed him back. You can see it's a 4-seam fastball, and Trout's a little bit late getting out of the way, but it's up and in.
And just missed up and in to fall behind 3-1. If you lose Trout, Upton comes up as the tying run. And this will be out of play, a full count.
Totally different swing from my Trout when it's down. And that's in his wheelhouse. I don't care if it's outside. He can get to that pitch that's down. He loves to hit those low pitches. So I would think they'll probably try to come upstairs one more time. Maybe even throw him a breaking ball.
Did throw him a breaking ball, and it's lifted high in the air, medium depth left field. Granderson is there, and that's all for the Angels. They get a run, but the Blue Jays still lead 5-3. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Jamie Campbell, Kevin Barker are in the Samsung broadcast studio.
By Honda. The Honda Checkered Flag event is back. It's the best time to find a Honda you'll love.
Ready for Blue Jays action, sitting inside the TD zone, our guest from one of TD's community partners. Bottom of the 8th inning with the Blue Jays up 5-3, and here's the right-hander Cam Bedrosian.
Well, Cam Bedrosian making his 22nd appearance of the season. He's 1-0. His ERA just over 4. Bedrosian's in his 5th season. He's 26 years old. He was the Angels' #1 pick in 2010 out of high school in Georgia.
Cole Calhoun stays in the game in right field, so Chris Young, or excuse me, he stays in the game in right field as he takes over for Chris Young. He pinch hit for Chris Young. And Bedrosian starts Justin Smoke down and in ball 1. Blue Jays were up 5-0 at the end of an inning. And as we mentioned a couple of times, had great opportunities in the middle innings to add on to that lead. Were unable to do so. And this game is close right now. Bottom 8, 5-3. After Smoke, it'll be Teoscar Hernandez and Kevin Pillar. Smoke a walk, a base hit, and a strikeout tonight. Just 10 hits in the game. 6 for the Blue Jays, 4 for the Angels.
Dan, you mentioned Cam Bedrosian's dad, Steve Bedrosian. He called him Bedrock. He came up with the Braves in '81. He won a Cy Young Award pitching for the Phillies in 1987. Had 40 saves. He led the National League in saves that year. Had a .283 earned run average, and a relief pitcher winning a Cy Young Award is pretty impressive.
Sent foul down the left field line, 2-2. Tyler Clippard will get an opportunity to close it out for the Blue Jays.
When Steve Bedrosian won that Cy Young Award, he beat out Rick Sutcliffe, Rick Russell, Oral Hershiser, and Dwight Gooden, and a fellow named Nolan Ryan.
And to show you how the game's changed as well, he had 65 appearances that year as a reliever, 89 innings. Now 65 appearances, probably around 65 innings for a closer.
Yeah, they were anxious to get their best reliever into a ball game, no matter what the situation was. And you go back even a generation before that with Raleigh Fingers and Goose Gossage and Terry Forrester. Those guys, they just closed games out. Okay, we're in trouble now. You go out and put out. They were firemen. They put out the fire.
Come in the 7th and just keep going.
Finish.
3-2. And Smoke lays off and draws the walk. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership, and it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Hendrys Morales striking for a 2-run homer back of the first tonight. A terrific outing from Jay Happ, and the Blue Jays still have a lead. It's 5-3, bottom 8, leadoff man on for Teoscar Hernandez, who's 1 for 3.
I thought I'd go back and look at innings pitched for relievers. 1974. Mike Marshall. He saved 21 games. Appeared in 106 games through 208 and a third innings. Out of the bullpen.
Ground ball to the right side, could be 2. And it is.
This 4K broadcast is brought to you by the Samsung QLED TV. See nothing else.
Nothing quite as pretty as a couple of Gold Glovers teaming up on a double play. Look at that feed, the backhand feed right about chest high to Andrelton Simmons, who makes easy work of the pivot at second. Simmons has 3 Gold Gloves to his credit. Kinsler won a Gold Glove in 2016 playing for the Tigers. And boy, they made that double play easy.
Kevin Pillar, the batter now, with 2 down and the bases empty. Blue Jays up 5-3, bottom 8. Pillar is 0 for 3 on the night. Average down to 289. Been above 300 just about the entire season. Looking ahead to the top of the ninth, the Angels will send up their 3, 4, 5 hitters: Justin Upton, Albert Pujols, and Shohei Otani. Fly ball, pretty well hit to right field. Calhoun has room just shy of the track, and that's all. To the ninth at Rogers Center. Blue Jays up 2, 3 outs away from a victory if Tyler Clippard can deliver. At the top of the ninth inning here at Rogers Center, with the Blue Jays up 5-3. John Gibbons hands the ball to Tyler Clippard to try to get those last 3 outs and break this losing streak.
Tyler Clippard's had a great start to his season. This is his 25th appearance of the season. He had a rough outing on Saturday. The Blue Jays had a 4-run lead going into the top of the 8th inning. Clippard came in that inning after Axford started. John Axford walked one, got things started, and then Clippard came in and gave up a walk and a grand slam home run as Oakland scored 5 to win it 5-4.
Justin Upton leads off the ninth for the Angels, and a changeup is in for a strike. Upton tonight is 1 for 3, and he's had a lot of success against Clippard. He is 4 for 10, and 3 of the 4 hits are home runs. Albert Pujols on deck, and Shohei Otani will be up third.
Clippard's throwing more and more breaking balls as he's getting more comfortable with it. It'll be fastball, changeup most of the time. He'll throw a split from time to time. But he's added a breaking ball he calls a cutter. He said, I want to think of it as a cutter so it doesn't get so big.
Changeup pulled foul, 1-2. Jay Happ went 7 innings tonight, gave up just 2 runs on 3 hits. Walked 3, struck out 5 through 99 pitches. Ryan Tepera worked the 8th inning, allowed a run, and now Clippard on to the 9th looking for the save. Blue Jays opting after the Osuna administrative leave, with him not with the team, opting to leave Tepera in the 8th inning and have Clippard in effect leapfrog over him into the closer's role. Clippard Has had a lot of experience closing in his big league career. He has 62 saves to his credit. Got him. One down. Now for a preview of what's coming up next on Sportsnet Central. Here are Ken Reed and Ivanka Osman. All right, Ivanka, thank you. Here is Albert Pujols. The Blue Jays now 2 outs away from a win. Pujols 1 for 3 tonight. And an RBI single back in the 4th inning. And Pujols, like Upton, has seen Clippard, and like Upton has had some success. 3 for 10, 2 home runs. Fastball in the air to center field. Pillar's got room. 2 down.
Tyler Clippard, this is his 25th game of the season. He's allowed runs in just 5 appearances. And he's been very consistent in his ability to keep the opposing team from scoring. Of course, he gave up that grand slam. He's allowed 4 home runs all season long. Opponents have hit 173 against him.
Here is Shohei Otani. 0 for 2, and he's also walked. All 3 batters have seen a first pitch changeup for a strike. We're back with you tomorrow night. Tyler Skaggs, a left-hander, will be on the mound for the Angels. And Aaron Sanchez gets the start for the Blue Jays. Change-up, popped up. Here comes Smoke. And the Blue Jays win it. Clippard picks up the save. Happ gets the win. And the losing streak is a thing of the past as the Blue Jays take the opener of this series 5-3. Got a big home run ball from Kendrys Morales as well. And the Blue Jays start off this series, Buck, on a winning note.
Once again, when a team's going to put together a win streak, you got to get good starting pitching, and that's what Happ has done again. He's now won 2 in a row. Tyler Clippard wraps it up, but a couple of good signs for the Blue Jays. The fact that Donaldson had a couple of doubles and Kendrys Morales 2 hits and a home run. They need these big bats to get going, but it all starts and ends with the starting pitcher.
Yes, it does. We'll see how Aaron Sanchez does tomorrow night in the second game of this series. It's time now for Sportsnet Central. Back to the studio. Here are Ken and Ivanka.